here we are addressing our new garden area. When we initially piled it, it was 100 by 100. I think we are not gonna go the full amount after all. I think we're just gonna do like 100 by 70. I'm planning on cover cropping the entire thing. I wanna address the soil and make sure that has all of the nutrients and micronutrients and everything that it needs to be conducive to grow vegetables and grapes, which is what I'm gonna grow in there. Right behind me is where the kids' gardens were last year. And then further behind that, I have about a 5,000 square foot area that we have never touched before, other than adding silage tarps last year to kill off the perennial weeds. And this is the area that we are expanding to this year. And in order to address all of the fertility issues and soil issues in here, I need to do a soil test. So that is what I'm going to show you guys today, how I test my soil and my favorite soil testing service to use. A couple of weeks ago, I got my soil test kit in the mail, and this video is brought to you by RX Soil, which makes the testing kit I am using here. I have tried so many different testing services for soil over the years, and this one is by far my favorite. They sent me a few tests to try out, and I loved it so much that I purchased an additional test to do another area of the garden. The kit comes with everything you need. It has an instruction card, it has a soil bag, and it has a prepaid shipping label on the back. This is a soil probe. You don't need one of these to test your soil, but since I have so many garden areas and I do this pretty often, I decided to purchase one of these just to make my job a little bit easier. I feel like one of the most important parts of starting a garden or maintaining a garden is soil testing. And I cannot express that enough. It doesn't cost a ton of money to do it and to do it right. You could put a lot of time and effort into your garden. You could buy all of these things to put into it, compost, all sorts of stuff, and then have a big fail year across a lot of crops just because you didn't test your soil and you didn't amend it to where it should be. Collecting a soil sample is actually really pretty easy. For the soil probe, I just push it down into the ground until I reach the top, twisting it back and forth, or you could do a full twist if you want. And then you put that little core sample into the bucket. And I am testing a really large area, so I get samples from all over the place in this garden, and then I mix them all together at the end. A shovel or a spade would work for this too, but the soil probe does provide a more accurate sample. You just want to make sure that you get down at least 6 to 8 inches deep to get that sample. I test my soil at least once each season, and the reason for that is to ensure soil balance. Even if you got back a perfect test one year, just know that nature is never stagnant and it's likely to change, especially if you're actively growing in it. Another main reason to be doing a soil test consistently is to keep tabs on the soil organic matter and to be able to see if that is growing. A lot of people think of using the results of a soil test to find deficiencies, but it's actually just as important to find the excesses in nutrients as well, so that you don't create toxicities or imbalances in the soil by adding too much of a certain nutrient. I am doing a separate soil test here for my blueberries, and the only thing to mention with this one is my blueberries have a lot of mulch on the soil, so I had to scrape that away before I stuck my soil probe in so I could get an accurate sample. Got 2 different soil samples here. This one was from the new vegetable garden and this one is from the blueberries. Luckily they are very distinguishable between each other because the new garden has very little organic matter and the blueberries have a lot of organic matter. When I purchased this soil test, I already put in there that I was gonna do blueberries, so I'm making sure I'm using the right test for the right sample because I have a couple. So all I need to do is fill this up with soil and it's super clear, fill to the dotted line. Can't really mess that up. The only other thing you might wanna do is just remove if there was any rocks in here or any plant matter, you want to take that out of there. Really just want soil for this. Okay, so then I just zip up the bag and that'll go in the box. I mentioned outside that I already filled out some information based on the soil that I was sending in when I set up my account for RX Soil. So I will show you really quick some of the questions that they asked so that this makes more sense. The first test that I did was my vegetable garden. So I click from the drop-down menu garden and then vegetable, and the preference for recommended products is organic. And then I just type in how many square feet I am currently testing. Process for the blueberry soil was the same. I'm just clicking what describes my soil best, and the garden type is fruit, and then soft fruit, and the approximate area. Preference for recommended products is organic. I already had that filled out, and then I just completed the registration. Right now I'm just breaking apart some of the pieces in this soil so that everything is mixed nice and evenly and it's a good representation of the soil as a whole, because I was taking it from multiple sample points. This one is for my vegetable garden. Knock all the soil off is really good. I'm just gonna do the same process over here. I'm back inside and I've got my 2 samples ready. The only thing I need to do here, and this is only because I have a couple boxes, is make sure my sample numbers match up, which they do. And you just put it in the box just like that. It is so easy. And right here there's a little tab you can take off and attach. I'm gonna do that in a second. The only thing that goes in this box is the soil. The card that came with it, that is for you. You want to keep that out. I got my soil results back and I am inside my account on RX Soil. I have labeled each of the garden tests that I did with different names. You can edit this and put whatever names you would like to put there. For each of my gardens, I split them in half and only tested half of the garden. So my first vegetable garden 1, is actually 10,000 square feet, but I only did the first 50 by 100 area just because it's such a big area. I wanted to separate it out. And then you saw me do this second area and the second garden over here on this video, and then over here is where I tested my blueberries. So to start out, I thought I would show you my first vegetable garden. This one is going into its 4th year. I have amended it before and added nutrients, and so we're going to go in and see the results here. Everything is either optimal or above optimum. High here, sometimes this can be kind of a bad thing if you get too high, but everything is pretty much in range or a little bit above. The soil pH is a tiny bit high, but it's fine. So for this test, all that I need to add is some nitrogen, and here they're giving me the organic recommendation, which is blood meal. And you can see right here, I need to add 41.67 pounds if I were to broadcast it across the whole 5,000 square feet. So let's go back to one of the other tests, and I'm going to show you this vegetable garden 2 area 2. This is where we've never planted before and I have never amended before. So you can see the results for this are a lot worse. My soil pH is very low, organic matter is low, capacity to retain nutrients or cation exchange capacity is 9.8, which is below optimum. And so here is the recommendations that they told me to add. Same thing, blood meal, the same amount. This is for nitrogen. Some langbonite. This adds potassium, magnesium, and sulfurs. So it's kind of like 3 in 1. And they're saying to add 22.73 pounds annually, and then to add 90 pounds of lime. So those are my recommendations for that test. They make it really easy to read and understand. And then finally, the blueberries. This is one I want to go over with you guys because I have amended this before and I have adjusted the pH before. The thing about the blueberry test is when I filled out the information, I filled it out and they didn't have an option for blueberries exactly. And blueberries are very specific about their pH. They like a pH of, I believe it's like 4.8 to 5.3, so I'm right on the high end. I knew that going into this, and so I actually emailed them and said, hey, I was testing blueberries here. Can I have a specific recommendation for the blueberries? Because I know I don't want to add lime to this, and I didn't know if they would say add some more sulfur or not. My magnesium is super low, and the boron is fairly low as well. So I'm going to show you really quick the email that they sent back to me. In regards to the blueberry question, I just wanted some very specific recommendations, so I didn't really have to think about it, and they gave me some very detailed instructions back, which was awesome. So here they just say disregard the lime recommendation. Obviously, I kind of knew that going into this. They say here is the optimal range 4.8 to 5.4. So I'm still in range. I'm a little bit on the high end. I thought maybe they would say to add some sulfur, but I think I'm still good. So I'm not going to add that this year. And then since they're not adding that type of lime, they need to do something else to handle the magnesium deficiency because lime would correct a lot of that. So what they said to do was add Epsom salt and to broadcast a 1/4 cup around each plant and then water. So that helps me a whole bunch. My plants are 5 to 6 feet apart, so I will be doing that. The soil test kit gets sent to a professional laboratory, Waypoint Analytical. And while you can go to Waypoint directly, it is a huge hassle if you want to do it on your own. Their website's hard to navigate. You have to pay for your own postage, figure out your own packaging, and then when you get the results back, they do not offer any recommendations with that. The kit is just way nicer because it's all in one. You also may be wondering, why would I not go to my cooperative extension? I'm going to tell you the reason for that too, because I have tested at mine as well. Experiences vary with cooperative extensions, but I'll tell you mine. One is, even though it was low cost, the drive time for me was about 1 hour and 10 minutes round trip. So that adds cost and hassle for me. And then the other thing was I had to let my soil dry out first before sending it. So I had to wait a couple weeks. The biggest thing that I really didn't like about the cooperative extension, well, there's two things. One is that I was consistently waiting a month for my results back, and sometimes they would get it lost in the mail, sometimes it wouldn't come to my email if they were emailing it, and I just did not have a very good experience with that. And the second thing is they only gave conventional recommendations for the results. So that's why I love to use the test kit instead, because everything's included. I don't even have to leave my house to be able to get any of the packaging or send it off or anything. All of that is there. So it's really nice to be able to have it all included and to have those organic recommendations. If you are interested in purchasing one of these soil test kits from RX Soil, I do have a coupon code for you guys. It is Seasonal Homestead, and you get 10% off your order. So I will leave a link in the description below and probably pin one in the comments so you can find it really easily. For my vegetable garden, my recommended amendments were langbeinite and lime, and I was able to find some langbeinite locally, which was amazing. And then for the lime, I'm actually not going to purchase lime or use lime since I have so much wood ash. Wood ash is really great for soils that are low in potassium and low in pH, which my soil has both of those things. So I'm going to use wood ash instead of the lime. The source that I found for wood ash applications says don't go over 25 pounds per 1,000 square feet. and I have 5,000 square feet, so I'm gonna cap it at 100 pounds of wood ash. I'm gonna use a little bit less of the limonite just because the lime is gonna provide some potassium as well. Limonite is nice because it adds the potassium, magnesium, and some sulfur. All of those things are what my soil was low in. So it was a great recommendation from RX Soil. I was really happy to see that. I'd never heard of it before. For my blueberries, I'm going to be adding some Epsom salt to each of those. So I finished adding the Epsom salts to the individual blueberry plants. Tomorrow I will add the wood ash and the limonite to the vegetable garden. I was thinking it was going to rain tomorrow, but thankfully it is not. It's going to rain the next day. So that is it for the night.
Well, he weighed red ox first and then
The kids and I went out to add the wood ash to the garden, and we are not very methodical or scientific about this, but try and just spread it evenly across the whole top of the garden. And you can kind of see where it was laying down, so the kids just avoided where they had already put some wood ash, and we got it pretty evenly over the entire thing. This stuff looks like salt.
is it salt?
No, it's a naturally mined crystalline mineral. It's water soluble, but I'm actually just gonna do it not. So this one we need to go a lot lighter on, it looks like. Yeah, but not a healthy rock.
I don't think any rocks are healthy.
I think you're right about that, dude.
Is this salt?
This is the langbonite.
So it's edible.
It is not edible. Don't say that.
Eat it.
No.
It tastes not salty.
We went through the same process with the langbonite, although we had a lot less of it to go around. So we actually were a little bit more strategic with how we put it down and walked all the way down one row and then all the way back up another row, just kind of putting it down evenly as we went along. The last step we do in increasing soil fertility is to add compost. Compost can take care of a lot of the slight nutrient deficiencies and little things that you see on a soil test. If you add enough compost, it will take care of it. If you have a large deficiency, you definitely need to add those amendments and not just rely on the compost. Over the last few days, we have been working on adding compost to the garden beds that I talked about last week, where I fixed the drainage. You can see some bare soil there, and I like to keep my soil covered as much as I possibly can. So I am just dumping some compost on these rows. It's going to take me a while because I have a big garden, but we are making progress.